So the full eafc 25 database has been released with in-game stats. So in today's video, we're going to be looking at the players who've had the biggest rating upgrades and talking about how that's going to affect their price. So between now and the 6th of October, I'm going to be uploading a daily free eafc 25 trading guide. This will include everything to do on the web app to make as many coins as possible with both trading and investing. I'll be talking about the full release, what we expect to see regarding the market, and there'll also be a daily updated investing guide, all in there, updated every day for free. No gimmicks whatsoever, all you gotta do is click on the Google Docs link on the top link of the description. So in today's video, what we are going to be doing is walking through some of the players who've had the biggest kind of rating upgrades between last FIFA and this up and coming FIFA. We're going to be talking about how that's going to go and affect their price. Now, if there are any players that you guys would like me to go and cover in future videos, just drop them down below in the comment section. What I'll do is I'll have a little look at them on the league database, and I'll give my sort of insight in comparing them maybe to cards from last year. I'm just talking about, again, what we expect them being in case you guys are interested in players for your starter teams. So we've got some nice players. Now, there are a few guys who've had big upgrades, but they're like plebby bronze cards to golden on rare cards, or golden on rare cards to gold cards that I don't think you guys are too interested in. So I've tried to keep it to quite nice relevant players, a lot of Prem, a lot of France, even if, again, there are a few players that have had upgrades otherwise. So let me go and get my notes up again. We spent probably about an hour or two researching all the players, comparing them to last year's footbin. So let's go and start off with Saliba. Now, the first thing I will say is we don't have the elite playstyle pluses. Unless it's coming from those Twitter accounts that leak the playstyle pluses or the players with the playstyle pluses. Any playstyle pluses you do see on these cards are more likely than not just predictions. But I would actually predict Saliba to obtain a playstyle plus, being an 87 rated gold card. It's quite rare for these sort of cards to not have one. I think in the past he's had the anticipate playstyle, which would be insane. And another thing I will say is we're giving you the price of these players without knowing the playstyle pluses. Obviously, we know playstyle pluses can heavily increase players' prices. So just be aware, this is kind of like the base card without a playstyle plus. So first thing, or the first observation I would leave it is his pace split is just a bit rough, really. 77 acceleration with 86 sprint speed. Obviously, what that means is it means if, I don't know, let's say you're playing against an attacker with high acceleration, the first 10 yards, Saliba's going to have a lot more of a problem catching up with him, rather than, I guess, if it's, a flat-out race from maybe the halfway line all the way through to back to goal, he'll find himself having, a better chance of catching up. Other stuff on the card, he's got himself relatively decent short passing, dribbling we're not too fussed about, and then defending and physicality, very, very nice, with even sort of split stats right there. So Varane has received a +2 rating from, a +4 rating from last year, which is very, very nice. Also, nice thing with Saliba, he's got the most popular league and nation combo going. France, most popular nation in FIFA. Prem, most popular league in FIFA. Potentially even shifting to La Liga, but that's more for the top end stuff. So for the average player, France Prem is the most popular comparison. And as a result, how we're going to go and compare him to someone else's price, we're going to compare him to another French Premier League player who was also a centre-back, and that was Varane from last year. So comparing Saliba this year to Varane's card last year, Saliba is 2 ratings higher than Varane, has 3 higher pace, has 1 higher defending, and 1 more physical. So Varane managed to be 110k from the release of the game, and then he held 90k for a month, which is actually quite a lot, holding his value very nicely compared to some of the players we're going to be showing you and comparing in the future. Now, the problem is Varane, even though he was 90k for a month, 2 weeks after that first month, he went from 90k to 15k. This is due to there being, I think, a Thiago Silva flashback SBC, along with, I think, multiple Evos and so on. Now, interestingly enough, Saliba, even as a 93 rated card last year, came in at 60k. So, it's still quite an expensive card without the upgrade. So, Varane being 110 last year, Saliba's card still being 60k last year, I haven't meaning to, but I've actually half combined the prices, and I think it'll be 180k. I can see him being more than Varane last year. I think there's definitely more hype around Saliba in this up-and-coming FIFA than there was probably around Varane last year. And I'd say even within the first month, I expect him to hold 180k to 120k. Now, obviously, this is subjective on SBCs, just like how, again, Varane crashed for Thiago Silva. If we get an amazing Thiago Silva earlier, drop Saliba. But there's only so many if, buts, and maybes you can throw in there. Now, regarding him being a good investment, he is a really nice investment anytime before the Ultimate Edition. Now, I think for every single gold card we're going to talk about today, they peaked with the Ultimate Edition and then went down. It's only normally if there's some sort of like found meta where you actually see gold cards rise, especially if we look at last year. Last year was just known for like market crash after market crash. which basically just showed that the gold cards kept dropping and dropping. I think the only rises were on that Finesse Shot Playstyle Plus meta, the weird FLAIR Playstyle Plus meta where people glitched into their foot, and I think also the woman cards rose a little bit later than other cards did. But yeah, Saliba between the web app or the early games at days of FIFA, all the way through to the Ultimate Edition, should be a nice investment. And again, you'd want to go and sell pre the Ultimate Edition coming out. So the next card we're going to cover is going to be Nico Williams. He got himself a really nice upgrade. He got himself +6 on last year. And on top of that, I believe he's been upgraded to a 5-star weak foot. I think he might have been double 4 last year. So he's got himself 93 pace, which is very nice, and he's got himself 86 dribbling to pair that with. Nice agility, decent dribbling, composure being relatively low, but I think that's just due to him being young, and they do that. So we're going to go and compare Nico Williams' card this up-and-coming FIFA to Rafinha of last year, because they're actually very similar. So over Rafinha, he's got +1 weak foot. I would personally say Atletico Bilbao is a less demanded club in FIFA rather than Barcelona. I'd also say Spain is a less demanding nation other than Brazil, just especially with some of the top links in the Liga, like Eder Militao, Rodrigo, Vinicius Jr. I think they're definitely more favourable than the Spanish ones, which I'd say is Marcos Llorente, Diego Aspas. I think that shows you how desperate you get there. So yeah, I'd say worse nation than Rafinha, worse club. I would say that Nico Williams probably this year has more hype than Rafinha had last year. I think there's a lot of hype with him off the back of the Euros, and obviously just being a young player. Compared to Rafinha's card, he's got +2 pace, he's got 4 less shooting, but they have the same passing and dribbling. So again, really similar card. Now Rafinha last year was 40k and he dropped very heavily. So we were talking earlier about how Varane was 110k, held 90k for the first month. Well, get this, Rafinha last year at 40k dropped to 6k in the first month. So again, he's, I don't know, gone down like 70-80%. And again, I think the same thing will happen with Nico Williams. I can see him out of the bat probably costing, I'd say 40-50k. Yeah, so about 40-50k, but I'd say within the first month he'll be down to about 10k. Just because these cards are going to get very easily packed, and again, Spain La Liga isn't normally too much of a meta that people are building their teams around, so I can't see him holding his value very well. So again, 50k start off with, 10k by the end of the first month. Now I'm going to very briefly cover McAllister because he did get himself a +4 rating, but so many centre mid / cams in the Prem, and those cards significantly better that are still SBC fodder. For example, we had someone like Bernardo Silva who had higher weak foot. I think he had higher dribbling, shooting, pace. The stat actually more interesting, and it was still Bernardo Silva last year was still an 18k card. So even though McAllister's received a +4, I don't see him being any more than 4. I'd say at the beginning maybe he's like 7 to 10k if 86s aren't that, and then he'll just go down to 4 within the first week of FIFA. So again, nice upgrade, but if you're an attacking player with 69 pace or trying to be a box-to-box player but still only having only 3 stats being above 80, I just don't think he's going to cut the mustard. Another player I don't think is going to cut the mustard despite getting a nice big upgrade is Vitinha. Got himself +5 on last year, but he's got those PSG links. But sadly, 72 pace, 3-star skills, 3-star weak foot, 2 stats above 80. It's just not going to cut the mustard. And again, he's going to be about 6-7k, and then he's going to go to SBC fodder price within the first week. We now move to a card finally that isn't going to be SBC fodder, and that is Openda. So, Openda, really nice card, got himself 93 pace, 84 shooting, 81 dribbling, really nice jumping, 93 jumping with 80 strength. So obviously subjective on how the meta changes, he could hold up being a really nice card. Problem with Openda is he's actually really hard to compare to other players. That's because it's very rare to get someone who's this high rated with this pace, but either not from a plebby league and worth nothing, or not from a good league and worth something. So for example, you have cards actually quite like him now, like 83 and 84 rated, and they're like 2k. But last year Openda's card was 20k, so we know he's not those sort of players. But likewise, if you try and compare him to like a Rafael Leao, I think you're then giving him too much credit. So it's quite hard to find someone in the middle of the road. But I actually decided to go for Swanson, because I thought NWSL, definitely pretty hyped at the beginning of last year, but the Bundesliga's not that bad of a league. So I've gone and compared him to Swanson, but again, I still think there's a bit, there's tweaks to be had. So in comparison to Swanson, he's got 1 less weak foot and skill moves. They do at the same pace. He has 2 more shooting, but 13 less passing. Obviously, Swanson being a winger and him being a forward. He's got 3 less dribbling, but 8 more physical. So it's, give some, take some, really. Now, regarding to Swanson's price last year, she was 45k for the first 2 weeks, and I think though a lot of players would have actually crashed in the first 2 weeks, but her price was held up by the meta. And then after the first week of Weekend League, she actually went from 45k to 20k. So about Openda's price. Last year was 20k at the get-go, and he crashed to 10k within 1 week, and then the second week of FIFA, he was 2k. So I don't, obviously he's going to be more than that this year, but I don't think his value is going to hold. So I think in the first week he's going to go, again, would have been 20k last year. This year I think it'll be about 40k. I think within the first week though, that's down to 20k, and then the second week potentially, I don't think it's quite fodder, but I think it may be down to 10k. I think the card is just going to crash pretty heavily, and that's just going to be because, again, it's an 85 rated, it's a Belgian Bundesliga player. Leipzig aren't exactly excelling in other positions, and if they did, they've just sold them to Barcelona. So, yeah, again, quite a hard card to keep in teams, which is why he drops. Regarding being an investment, again, for McAllister and Vitinha, if you didn't pick up, don't think they're good investments. You might have between the web app and the Ultimate Edition, but I think he peaks on the Ultimate Edition. I think when there's loads of packs being opened for the first promos, I can see him dropping. So yeah, I don't think he's a good investment, but yeah, I think he starts about 40k after the first week. Card that I think looks really cool is not Gawkers. We actually decided to skip Gawkers just because minor league. Is Lauren James. Got herself a +3 on last year. And yeah, the card's really unique actually. It's quite rare to find someone with 5-star skills with this much pace and with being this high rated. You've got like low rated like Saint Maximin, and you've got very high rated like Mbappe. But yeah, she kind of fits a bit of a gap which we don't see. Maybe comparison to Rashford, but then I think that's giving her a little bit too much credit in terms of league in that lot. So yeah, so not many fast 5-star skillers. She fits that kind of, I guess, position which there isn't. Comparable, as it struggled, I looked at Hemp, I looked at some of the NWSL players, but I ended up just going with Ritten in the end, just because Ritten obviously is a WSL player. But I would say that Lauren James has more desirable positions because she'll probably have that striker position, which will add good value to that card. And she'll also should get a playstyle plus, but I would still say it's not as desirable as like her being in the Prem or so on. So she's got one more skill move than Ritten, she's got one more pace, one more shooting, 6 less passing, 1 more dribbling, and 19 more physical. The only problem, as always, is she can have 91 strength because of the female frame and the, her body type, I guess, probably being slightly slimmer, smaller than the average. It's always like, what use is 91 strength if it's on a midget? Normally you want that strength on big sort of defenders or sort of aerial players. So yeah, nonetheless though, Ritten last year was 40k, pre-Ultimate Edition dropped to 20k in the first week. Trent was seeing with a lot of gold cards. James I think will be 80k in the first week. I don't think she'll drop as high of a percentage because the more expensive cards normally hold value better. I think she'll be 80k and then maybe 50 to 60k within 1 week. Now move on to the biggest upgrade, but the biggest downgrade. Not downgrade, but lack of hype. And that is Cole Palmer, who's received a +19, only probably to be fodder. Because this card sucks. Okay, now we'll probably get cam utility, might even get left wing utility, but who wants a left wing with 15 pace? Not me. Who wants a right wing with 15 pace? Not me. Who wants either of those positions with 4-star skills, 3-star weak foot? That's really average. Shooting 82, passing 83, dribbling 86. His team of season cards are great, so they had 5-star skills, 5-star weak foot, and all that shebang. This card is very average. Someone who's received a 19 plus 19 upgrade, it's really meh. Comparable to 84 Madison. In comparison to Madison, he has 4 more pace than Madison, 1 more shooting, but 3 less passing. They have the same dribbling, and he's got 3 more physical. But Madison was 4k and then went to discard, I think, even before the Ultimate Edition. So I think Cole Palmer, I think it'll be 10k at the beginning. I think there'll be a bit of hype around using him. Really big upgrade, young player, people care about that sort of stuff. But I generally think he goes down to fodder after a week because the card is just nothing special whatsoever. If he had high skill moves and weak foot, I'd say it could be double the price. But I think with the skill moves, weak foot, there's so many Prem cams who have that sort of accolade, and they're normally always SBC fodder, like I was saying earlier from McAllister. Now moving on to 2 Premier League strikers, we've got ourselves Ollie Watkins and we've got ourselves Isaac. Both very similar cards, 85 pace, 84 shooting, 86 dribbling, and then we've got 85 pace, 83 shooting, and 80 dribbling. So Isaac being the more favourable. Isaac also has +1 skill moves and +1 weak foot. I'll talk about them together because they're both quite similar, and we compare them to the same sort of cards. So Jota last year was better than Watkins, worse than Isaac, but was only 20k in the first week. It dropped down to 5k after 2 weeks. Jesus, again, better than Watkins, worse than Isaac, was only 20k and was 5k 2 weeks later. So what do I think will happen with Watkins? I'll be honest with you, I can't see Watkins being much more than SBC fodder from the get-go. I'd say at most he'll be 10k, but then he'll drop to fodder within a week. Whereas Isaac, I think actually would be the opposite, where he'll be more expensive. I think he'll be 40k in comparison to Jesus and Jota, who are 10k, because he's just a better card than both of them. And because he wasn't a better card than both of them last year, there'll be more hype around using his card. I think he's 40k in the first week, but I'll be honest with you, I think he drops to about 15k in the first 2 weeks, because these cards are going to easily get beaten by SBCs, promo cards, and Evo cards. So yeah, I don't think they'll hold their value too long. Regards to investment, I think Isaac could potentially be a good investment. Watkins I wouldn't go and invest in. Back to Cole Palmer as well, I wouldn't invest in. Lauren James is a bit of a gamble, just because of, obviously last year there was a lot of hype around the woman cards. Will that hype be the same this year? You know, that's not to be known. Your best bet is normally to go with Premier League cards who are around about I guess 20k and above is normally your norm. Prem and French players. So we might cover that in a later video, the best investments. It's just because we're a month away, I haven't really had that much, I guess, reasoning to start talking about investing, and more just kind of giving my input on what do I think about these new cards, what do I think their prices are going to be, a bit more vague rather than trading related stuff. But that's been that. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure to drop down in the comments below who you want me to go and cover in the next video, and yeah, see you guys tomorrow.